Hi, I'm John Roseman, and I really enjoy cutting my own hair. It's liberating in so many ways. How, you might ask? Well, I'm free to experiment with different styles and looks without having to rely upon a barber or someone else to interpret exactly what it is that I want. Also, it saves me time and money that might otherwise be spent in the barber shop. So, consider time learning to cut your own hair today an investment into your own personal freedom in the future. So today we're going to do a low haircut with a tapered nape. And generally speaking, the lower haircuts are a little bit easier to accomplish than cuts that have a lot more length. So you should find this simple and easy to accomplish at home. So good luck trying this one. Let's get started. Okay, so today we're going to start this haircut off with the Andis Speed Master. It's a great clipper for short haircuts, actually. And what I mean by short is not in terms of the length of the hair, but in terms of how long you're going to be using the clippers. These tend to actually get a little hot if you're going to be doing several haircuts in a row or an extra long haircut that requires a lot of detail. So I like to use this clipper on this haircut, particularly because I know it's going to be fast and I don't have to worry about it heating up and starting to compromise its function. So we're going to put on its lowest guard that comes with the kit, and today this is a 1/16 #1 guard, or the lowest guard for the Andis Speed Master, and I'm going to snap that on. The other thing I like about this clipper is that its attachments stay without you having to manage them. In other words, other clippers often have attachments that'll pop off during the hair cutting. These are excellent for staying on without you having to manage them through the haircut and make sure that they don't come off. So it's a very fast and powerful clipper. Other than that, and we're going to adjust the lever all the way out so that the clippers are cutting at its longest length with the clipper guard attached. So let's get started with that. This haircut has a look that the length is uniform, but we're going to do some tapering at the edges, but we'll get into that a little later. So I'm going to start right at the top. So I'm cutting in the opposite direction of the growth pattern. And I don't know if you guys caught that, but these clippers were actually bogging down on me when I first started cutting. Kind of why I don't recommend these over, say, the Wahl Designers or Andis Masters, because they're great for some aspects of cutting, but they have their functional issues. Now we're back in the groove. They're running smooth. Obviously, guys, you know, when we're doing home hair cutting, it requires 2 mirrors. And I've now picked up my handheld so I can begin to follow this step around my entire head. Again, we're counting against the growth for the style pattern. Ideally, we like to alternate between the clipper and the hairbrush. This helps ensure that the length is uniform. Back to that area, kind of trying to work out any excess color or excess hair that's not quite conforming to the length that you're trying to accomplish. All right. crown tends to be a little tricky. You have to really look in to that area where the hair is transitioning in directions and make sure the clippers are going against the grain to really assure that it has a uniform look up there. The brushing, alternating between the brush and the clippers is really critical for ensuring uniform length and consistency all the way around. Sometimes the clippers will push the hair around as opposed to cutting it, and you have to straighten it back out with the brush and go back at it. But I think we're pretty much where we want to be now. And that's our first step. Now I'm going to go to the Wahl Designer for the taper at the nape. We're going to start with the clipper lever extended all the way out. We're going to draw this step in about 2 inches from the bottom of the nape going up to the occipital bone. Okay, without changing anything in terms of clippers or adjusting the lever, now that we've gotten that step in, I'm going to simply change the angle of the clipper. Adjusting it back and forth to blend that step into the hair above it. I've talked about this in my other videos, how you can accomplish variable lengths with a clipper without adding an attachment or even adjusting the lever, simply adjusting the angle of the clippers. And so we chip away at that line of demarcation, blending that step into the hair above it. Using the brush to show us what needs to further blending and where we might need to make adjustments. And this step is just about done. Okay, now I'm going to make my first adjustment. Well, let me see, got a little bit more color to pull out over here. Okay, so now I'm going to close the lever bring the clippers all the way to the base of the nape. And feather in another dimension to the taper right at the nape. Here I'm making adjustments with the lever as I ease up and feather into the last step. So this is one of those situations where you're opening and closing the lever depending on how much hair you want to cut. This time I'm going to start at the nape. What's critical to, okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. Working with clippers that have been adjusted, and for that matter any clipper, but and now we'll move on to what's critical is managing the pressure that you put on the clippers. Again, these Outlinner II. Managing the pressure that's applied to your skin with the clipper blades. Cutting a little bit closer than you would normally from your manufacturer's set. We'll go right to the temporal area while I have it in my sights. Now right into the forehead area. I'm going to follow the same steps on this side. Starting at the nape. I'm controlling and regulating the pressure of the blades against my skin by the first thing that hits my skin is actually my pinky while I hold the clippers with my other fingers. I also use the pinky to manage the ear, but so it's the first thing that that's coming in contact with my skin is my finger, and this allows me to manage the pressure of the clippers so that I'm not gouging myself, because these are adjusted to cut much closer than they would otherwise cut with the manufacturer's setting on a clipper blade. Sometimes I close my left eye because I'm right eye dominant. For dialing in on precision work, it kind of helps out sometimes. Okay, so we're going to move to the front of the forehead. Because this pattern was pretty much already there and I was following an old haircut, I lined it up that way. But normally I would start at the center of the forehead and lining up the front, and then work my way to the edges. But this kind of following the pattern I already had, so I kind of knew things would kind of come in symmetrical and more or less where I wanted them. Okay, and now for one of my favorite areas to work. It really gives the haircut a professional look. And that's the hairline over the ear. Gently etching in an arc over the ear. You notice the first time when I first started, I was this way with the clippers, then I reverse them. Make sure it's nice and clean. Now we're kind of joining that nape area that we already lined up. And we'll check it, make sure it looks all uniform and consistent in a minute. Same thing on this side. Etching in that arc right over the ear. Then reverse the clipper. Pull the ear forward. And merge this work with the work you already did at the nape. And I'll take a quick check to see if it kind of all came together for us, and sure did. Looks real nice. And this side looks nice also. The tapered nape looks great. Okay, that's it. So, thanks again for joining us here at TONSORIAL VIRTUOSO. Check out our website for more haircutting tips, more haircutting recipes. Our website is howtvcutblackmanshair.com. That's howtvcutblackmanshair.com. Leave me a tip too, by the way. What would a barber be without a great tip? Thanks.